We are live. Welcome to this week's episode of Sexually Speaking with myself, Keisha Clark, and my amazing sister goddess co-host, Rhonda Burns. Good morning, goddess.
Good morning. How you doing? What's up? Tuesday, y'all.
Tuesday, it's time to talk about sex, time to have Sexually Speaking, woo-woo, where we are celebrating all things sex and the sex of everything. If this is your first time joining us, in case you didn't realize that, now you know. And if it is your first time, thank you. If you're seeing us, whether this is live, your first time to join live, or whether you're on a replay, we are grateful for you stopping by. And if you have any questions, any comments, anything, and you're watching this as a video, you will find information beneath this video where you can get more details, you can play with us more, and you can just kind of get a little bit more acquainted with myself and Rhonda. So yeah,
you wanna get more acquainted with us because we're awesome. Just saying.
That's what I'm talking about. What do we know? So today our conversation is actually about your grown-up Christmas list. And yes, there is a fantastic song that's all about one set of possibilities for that, and it's a beautiful song, and I actually love that song. It's a really fun song to sing too. And what we're kind of going to play with today is going in the direction of adult Christmas lists, grown-up Christmas lists. I know we could go into all kinds of relativity about whatever adult and grown-up means, and that's for a different conversation. So, so what are you asking for this holiday season? No matter what kind of way you celebrate the holidays, are you asking for something? So new this, upgraded that, a little more of these, a whole lot of those. Are you asking for a bit of pleasure anywhere in any of your list? Are you? Are you willing to? And so have you ever asked for anything in the line of the adult toys? Have you ever been willing to ask for accoutrement to add to your pleasure, whether that's with yourself or with a partner? And if not, would you be willing to? Now, adult toys do not automatically have to mean pleasure. And for some people, it's actually quite, the opposite of pleasure, and that's okay too. So we're not telling you you have to have anything in your toy box. And at the same time, what do you have in your toy box? And maybe are there some new toys you'd like to add to your toy box, whether that's in the form of different kinds of devices or something creativity-wise that you're going to integrate into the way you play. So that's what we're playing with today. Rhonda, you got anything to start out with?
Yes. Here's what I'm going to show you guys. Hang on. There's one of my new toys back there. You see it in the corner?
Oh.
There's two more inside it. I posted it on social media. This isn't about sexual toys, but there is something very pleasurable about that new luggage back there that turns me and my body on. I've got it right there. Every time I walk in and out, it's like, we're gonna play, right? Because one of my targets and desires for the coming year is to be out in the world even more, doing the things that I love to do that turn me on. So that I consider it a toy. I can maybe make love to it in a very different way. But that's
creative.
The luggage. So I'm just saying that. So yeah, again, what if our adult toys are just the willingness to have what we desire, whether it's an actual pleasure-based on-the-body toy or something beyond, right? So how expansive and creative can we be, I wonder?
Yeah. It's interesting. When I was playing with the write-up, as we were just sort of tapping into the energy for what does this show want to talk about, there was something interesting that I kind of bumped into at a certain point in the process of putting this together. And it was like all of the points of view that are in the world about, once you're grown up, you can't have fun anymore. Or if you do, you're not supposed to show people that you're having fun, or you're not supposed to let too many people know how much fun you're having, right? And that was really fascinating because I thought, wow, we begin that aging and olding and growing old rather than simply growing our lives, and growing upward, perhaps, if you want to look at it that way. And that was really interesting to me. I was like, oh my gosh, there is a lot of this in the world. And then there's like this kind of juxtaposed something that I also noticed that was like, all of this, I guess we see it a lot in the media. There's a lot of promotion of, get out there and have fun. And yet what I'm seeing that's being represented as that kind of fun, the adult fun. I don't know that that's something that is necessarily generative, like the ways that it's suggested to us.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got that is part of what this conversation was desiring, to just maybe pop a few of those little interesting points of view.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating, right? Because everything I'm seeing about fun and enjoyment is when you're not on your day job, right? Or when you're not in your day-to-day grind, right? When you're not in the hustle. And it's like, so it's conditional, right? Like the fun and the pleasure and the enjoyment is conditional. I'm like, well, that doesn't fucking work. I can tell you. I caught myself in it just literally this last week. I was in another space of, it was heavy, y'all, so we won't go there. But it's like, well, where'd all the pleasure in my life go, right? And there are pockets of it, but like consistently strung out and weaved through every freaking day. Where's the pleasure? Where's the desire? Where's the enjoyment? Where's the fun and the playfulness? And it's like, ooh, well, I created that, huh? So I literally caught my snap. Thank you for being there and having my back like you did. And right, like I'm like, okay, so I can sit here and mope and keep going, or I could create something different. And let me tell you, as soon as I chose to infuse and rewrite my life from the space of pleasure, like everything is like, whoa! Like I got a trip booked yesterday that was not even on my radar. I mean, like, yay! I'm just like, okay, what else? So what do I want to say? So rein it in. Let me give you a cohesive thought here. So what if we didn't freaking put conditions on pleasure, on fun, on enjoyment, on bliss, on ecstasy, and the list goes on.
Yes. I am loving what you said about rewriting your life from the space of pleasure. Will you, is there a little something more you can, that was juicy. That was just really juicy.
What more do you want, baby? Let me just write it, because I don't know. I said rewriting.
Well, and you are now, I'm going to make a plug for you, because so for those of you who may not know, Rhonda and I both are also radio show hosts on station a2zen.fm, and Rhonda's topics all through the month of December.
It is December of Desire, baby. It's Desire December. And y'all will find that everything that I do here forward is going to be super infused from the space of pleasure and desire. And y'all may get sick of me talking about it, and y'all are crazy if you do, but I'm just saying. Anyway, so tomorrow's topic on the show on Potency is My Game Radio is focusing on fundamentals. Fun, F-U-N. And by fundamentals, it's going back to basics, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what's more basic than how we got here? Most of us got here as a result of somebody having a pleasurable experience, getting it on.
We hope.
Right? Maybe not everybody, okay?
We hope.
But I've had to really look at this for myself, and it's like we are from a desirous, orgasmic body part, right? Like, I'm on a roll. Like, I've got so much coming in right now. So let me just try to focus on one thought. Yeah. So it's like back to fundamentals, back to basics is about where it all began.
I love that.
And as children, we know this, right? Pleasure, delight, playfulness, enthusiasm, adventure, right? And again, I just turned 49 and I found myself like automatically starting to creep into pushing 50 mentality in this reality. And I'm like, fuck that. This shit sucks. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't turn me on. So cool. If I need to act 26 according to this reality, then so be it, right? But I am all about infusing pleasure and desire into everything me and my body do. Period. End of explanation. What else you got, sister? Talk to me.
That
Get me off my soapbox.
Fucking awesome. Yes. And, it's fun, too, because here at the holiday season.
The holiday season. Yep.
And it's funny because there's how many songs come to, just for this 2 seconds, how many songs come to mind when you think of the holiday Christmas song and holiday song regimen,
Right.
How many of those songs are all about the love for the holidays, the finding the love, all the boys and girls are playing and romance is blooming and blah, 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 blah.
That's really heavy.
I know. Isn't it funny? Because it's like this Fantasyland version of what you're supposed to want and how you're supposed to experience the holidays. You know, let's just do air quotes ad infinitum for the show.
Right? Yeah.
And that is, so how aware are we, first of all, of the lie of those representations? And have you, in any way, at any point in your existence, ever judged yourself or been really critical of yourself because it didn't happen that way for you? And if you have criticized yourself for that, would you maybe be willing to stop that now?
Absolutely.
So, like, how does it really work for you? And this is part of where, for me, it kind of ties into the whole list thing. A list for the purposes of this conversation, for me, is really about, are you willing to even acknowledge that you desire something?
Yep.
You know, I mean, if it's a car, if it's a bicycle, if it's a new dishwasher, if it's a sexy lingerie, if it's a fabulous cigar, it doesn't matter what it is. And it doesn't have to be an electronic device or a battery operated device. You know, whatever that is, it's like, there's such an unwillingness that I'm seeing for people to even be acknowledging that. So when we get to the space of pleasure, and you and I have had a couple of conversations on the generativeness of pleasure and what that actually can contribute to our bodies, to our lives, to our businesses, to our relationships, and maybe even to our bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
When we get into that, it's like, okay, what if instead of doing the sort of annual rundown of the holiday experience or the holiday regimen, what if this holiday could be a little bit different for each of us?
Yeah.
And even if what you're asking for doesn't show up by a certain date through the holiday season, do you begin to get a sense of the willingness to even acknowledge you desire that? You know, some people really, really, really would like to be having a relationship with a primary person, with at least, a fun lover. It doesn't have to be their primary person. And they won't acknowledge it. Like, there's a resistance to that.
So everything that is, let's just acknowledge it and let's choose beyond it. Let's just take a deep breath in, choose beyond it, let that go. Cool, it's there. What else is available? Yeah, because friends, it's an ask and receive universe. And if we're not asking for what we desire, how the hell can we receive it? Right? It may be in the deepest depths of your soul, but there is something extremely powerful about voicing it, even if it's just to yourself and the universe, right? Whether it's speaking the words into the air, right? Or writing them down, like I was telling Keisha, I got a green journal to start 2017, and I started but like it's my desires. It's like, this is like, I'm filling up pages already for 2017 is just around the corner, and I'm starting the energy now. But I'm asking for my desires to be met. And the more that I am in the wish list, right? I'm in the list of, I really desire. And this isn't so much about things. It's real, like, things are going to show up, but it's about the energy of that which lights me up from the very bottom of my nina, right? My very bottom of my pelvic floor, all the way up. Like, it's like, woo, right?
Yeah.
I'm listing it. Yeah. And and as I do that, my body gets more turned on. I get to be more space. I get to be more playful. I get to show up as me, right? As a pleasure-based, desire-based individual, which we all are, believe it or not. And when the day-to-day stuff shows up that may not always be the most enjoyable, I'm in the generative space of pleasure and desire that I can meet that with more ease and more flow and more grace and elegance. I can clean a toilet like nobody's business because I put on my Pandora music, right? Yes. And I'm like, whoop, whoop, right? Like, it's how I choose to meet my day. It's how I choose to meet and create my life.
Yeah. And what if it's how you choose to meet yourself? too.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
something that's really popping. Like,
Yeah.
are you willing to meet yourself? Are you,
It
and this is
starts with
part of
you.
that acknowledging the desire. It's like, are you willing to know who you are? Are you willing to
Yeah.
know that much about yourself and acknowledge it? And that's something I'm the experiences, the adventures in my life at this moment are really rather demanding me, really requiring me to let go of some of these, well, kind of a lot of these unconscious things and habits that I have been choosing,
Right.
and get to meet me, get to know me more, because I'm looking at, like the ground is sort of out from under my feet in some respects, and it can be super duper scary and like super duper exciting all at the same time. And what I'm really getting the sense of is there is a great value for each of us in becoming more willing to know ourselves.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things Rhonda and I can, I think, both say is we're very aware that part of that knowing ourselves comes from having the acknowledgement, having the willingness to acknowledge what it is we desire, even if it seems so freaking off the wall. Because you might think you desire something, or you might have been wishing for something or wanting something, and then you reach a point in your life and you're like, I don't really want that. That's not really my desire.
Right.
And so the process of really staying in touch with yourself and what really works for you is, for me, is becoming even more, I want to say critical, not from a space of significance. I just really am getting now a much greater sense of the fundamental piece that is for us to then create from.
Yep.
Right. So I love that. I'm going to rewriting your life from the space of, that works for me.
Yeah. Right. And, if I may, can I be really vulnerable with some stuff that I've discovered about, in this process of like looking at my, my grown up Christmas list. What I found for myself as I was really diving into this pleasure and this desire, I found myself not wanting to voice some of these desires. And I was like, but what is that about? Like, why I would not. So when I just kept digging into the layers and I kept going back to it, and here's the funny thing is the juxtaposition of I'm a coach and I'm continuously seeking and shifting, transforming, looking at what's there, letting go of what no longer serves me, right? Like this is the work that I am every single moment of every single day. So when I came up to this pocket of, oh my gosh, there's this stuff that's from the womb, right? Like, so I don't know how many, like I was an unplanned pregnancy and I was born to two people who had just graduated from high school in the late 60s. And they chose to get married and have me because that was what was done. And so in my cellular memory, there is this stuff around guilt and shame, right? Like it's there and I'm aware of it and I've cleared so much of it. But in this additional work that I'm doing to really just root out any stuff that's left over, what I got to was this, and this is really new, so I haven't really formulated words well. So thank you for allowing me to share this. It's the worst thing that I could hear from somebody when I looked at this is, that you were a mistake.
Oh my goodness.
Like the worst thing that somebody could have said to me is you were a mistake and we shouldn't have actually and this isn't even from my mom, right? But that you are a mistake. And so when I look at the way I function in certain circumstances, it's from the, let me prove my value and my worth to you that I'm not a mistake and that I really do need to be, that I am here to contribute, right? Like this is the insanity that we lock into our bodies, that we lock into our psyche, that is in the unconscious spaces of us. And so when I was looking at desire and pleasure, of course I wouldn't ask for what I desire because I might be a mistake and I don't want to overburden anybody, right? I don't want to, like, that's where the space I got to. And I'm like, well, no wonder I haven't been willing to ask. I think that I must prove that I'm not a mistake.
Wow.
Well, how does it get any better than that? No, friends, I'm smiling about it now. I was in the fetal position, snot bubble tears as I was looking at this, right? Because it's like, oh, Rhonda baby cakes, right? Like I'm talking to the infantile me, and I'm talking to the 6-year-old me, and I'm talking to the 27-year-old me, and I'm talking to the 49-year-old me. Like, baby
Yeah.
cakes, let's let that go. Okay, we've acknowledged it. Okay, it's there. It's not real, right? So
Yeah.
this is a really cool topic, but like, uh, yeah, Eleanor said she was shame and should be hidden, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much stuff that's in the soup and in the mix that we're not even aware of until we start looking at subjects like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Wow.
I was looking at like desire and pleasure, and it's like, oh, it wasn't safe to ask for what I desire and what be pleasurable, because guess what? Somebody might go, you know, you were a mistake and you don't get your wish. I didn't
Let's
know that was still there.
wow. So this is really, really cool and like rather hilariously awesome in a, so,
Totally.
okay, all the non-human words that I'm trying to explore. Just take a breath.
We would like a verbal be able to speak to the energy. Thank you. Let's
Please,
match,
thank
match,
you.
match,
Yes.
match, match, match.
Um, so this is something that has been present for me in my version of life, this
Right.
incarnation, and now with Eleanor chiming in, and I'm sure there's a number of people listening
Oh, yes.
who can relate to this in their way. So here's something that popped in. It was like, how many of us have in any way, shape, or fashion, in whatever lifetime or however many lifetimes, bought into this permission thing of like, if you were not wanted to begin with, you don't have the right to ask.
Mm.
So can we blow that shit up right now?
Ooh, yes, ma'am. I got chills all over my
Holy
body.
moly.
Chills all over my body.
Who
Change it.
said you had to be wanted in order for you to be validated to be able to exist on this planet?
Holy freaking moly.
Fuck that shit.
So everything that is,
Yeah.
let's gather it up from every lifetime, from every space, from every dimension, from every paradigm, from every planet. Let's just gather it up, gather it up, gather it up, gather it up. Nice little tidy package. And let's just poof, annihilate it. Boom.
Yeah.
Or if you want to bazooka it, or if you want to fireball it, or however
Yes.
you want to like eliminate it,
Yes.
choose your style. But it's like,
yes.
And that when I talked about the interesting juxtaposition is, I know that in my non-embodied energy, I said, I'm going in.
Yes.
I want to play. I want to play. But I like, so there's that knowing. And then in the birthing process, right, the human experience, it's all that. And it's like, oh my God, you're bound. You're in a double bind, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, again, acknowledging it and releasing ourselves
Right.
from the double binds and whatever else we've locked ourselves up
Well,
and to choose something different.
Yes, and this little piece of how much it's connected to for so many of sex. I mean, you got to get born, and if you're going to be born in a body, if you're going to come into a body, you kind of need the assistance of a few people who are willing to do the thing that makes bodies.
Right.
So everywhere you've connected permission and your worthiness to something to do with sex, that's a very interesting energy.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, we come through that energy of sex, and I'm using that as sort of a literary term. So like everything you're aware of that is required to show up in a body that you have allowed to be negated by the lies of worthiness, would you be willing to now choose beyond all of that shit?
Yes.
It is not. Is it really yours? Is it really what you believe? Or can you be willing now to bring what you know into your physical body, to remember the potency of sex, the generativeness of sex, the way beyond copulation that sex is, the creation of sex, and the sex of you that is very possibly ready to now contribute something way, way greater to your life. Would you be willing to allow what your desires are showing you or trying to show you to now show up more in your life, in your body?
We've tapped an energetic vein because my legs are bouncing. I can't sit
Yes.
still. There's so
Yes.
much energy. So again, like when we get to this space, the willingness to let the energy move in whatever way works for you. Don't squelch it. Don't stop it. Don't deny it. Like let the energy move, right? Like, whoo, Lord have mercy. That feels good.
That's pretty awesome stuff, man. Wow.
Damn, who knew this conversation was going to go here? How's it get any better?
Totally.
Christmas, grown-up Christmas list, yes, please. Wish list for 2017 and beyond, like beyond Christmas. Like, let's crank out some more desires. What else do we want? What else do we desire? What else do we pleasure?
So then when we get to like, are you willing to ask for sex? And would you be willing to play with toys? Do you have toys? Do you allow yourself to consider the possibility of toys? And if you're making toys significant, this is not about making toys significant. Toys are another way for us to find out more about ourselves and our bodies, right? So there are different kinds of toys. There are toys that are fashioned in the shapes of penises. There are toys that are fashioned as devices that create intensity for different parts of the body. There are toys that are, meant to like rub on our bodies that can be kind of yummy to either us or our lovers. So
there are toys that we can affix to our male partners that are super fun.
Absolutely, yes. Well, and that's the intensities. Yeah, that was. Yeah. there's toys for all kinds of toys for bodies, right? And then there's toys. There's items that you might not think of as toys that, because of you having a little bit of creativity, could actually be a really fun toy to play with. So it doesn't have to be something fancy, that is a $70,000 rig of something. It could just be what does your imagination allow you to play with, or what are you allowing yourself to play with and explore and discover? And have you allowed yourself to play with asking for things that would enhance your pleasure? So giving pleasure, are you willing to receive pleasure? And would you be willing to ask for the pleasure to be turned up?
I'm writing it down. Ooh, yes, please.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful. I wrote down, would toys be a fun, generative, and enjoyable addition to you and your body, right? Like, be willing to ask, because I know a lot of people have resistance to toys, and it's like, just ask, would it be, get the energy, light or heavy, yes or no? And if it's a yes, okay, where do I go? Where do I start, right? There's so many websites you can go. I have a pleasure trove in my closet. Friends, like every time I see, I've got so much stuff. It's gone from a case into a duffel bag. I got two, right? Every time I go into my closet, I do have to be a little creative and setting it kind of back, because I have a Snoopy 11-year-old, and I'm not quite ready to go to that conversation just yet. He's not quite prepared for that. But it's like every time I see it, it's like, it's there, right? It's like, hello. And again, I've been single for a while, and it's like, like, oh, body with this. Oh, okay, cool. Yep. We'll pull the toy out. We'll have a good time with it. And I'm excited. Can I share? Okay, we'll get to that. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes. So, would toys of any type be a fun, generative, enjoyable contribution, addition to you and your body? Ask. And go from there. Like, ask the question.
I love that.
Yes, cool. Okay, body, where should we look? Yeah. The Google machine. You're looking at it, the Google machine.
You don't have to go into public places to do it.
That shit is sent right to your door in a brown package, and you open it up and you're like, whoa, that's pretty. Ooh, that's shiny. Ooh, that makes noise.
Yes.
Right? Like, how much fun could it be?
And I love your point. And this is something that I wonder how many of us have chosen is, would you be willing to have a toy box for your toys? And, I have a couple of different containers, and one of them is this really pretty purple, it's a little box, it's covered in purple velvet, and it's got the Indian design embellishment on it with a few sequins and a few little sparkly things, and it's just so pretty. And when you were talking about when you open your closet and you see your collection, there's something there that is the energy of that tantalizing and that flirting with the energy that those toy boxes can begin to represent for us if we're willing to play with that. And so would you maybe play with different ways to have your toy box somewhere? And you can have more than one toy box, guys, because, you know, some toys are little and some toys are much bigger.
Yes.
And so
some can have locking devices if you know.
Exactly.
But I was writing down, like, toy box actually doesn't light me up as much as my treasure
chest. Ooh,
treasure
I like that.
chest, right? Like, you name it. And what I just saw that I'd never pictured before is I would love to, I see a trunk, like a really beautiful, almost antique trunk with a rounded top and the straps. I was like, oh, having it at the end of my right? Like, that turns me on. I'm like, okay, universe, it's going on the list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and like, there's beautiful cedar chests. You know, I've seen people do these beautiful cedar chests with engraved or etchings on the sides and on the top panel, and they've stained it, and there's this gorgeous, it looks like pride of place in some respects, you know, and having that is, for me, the way that energy kind of lands is like, are you willing to flirt with yourself? Are you willing to tease yourself? Are you willing to let the energy of your desire be present in your life in different ways? And for me, those treasure troves, toy boxes, treasure chests, are one of the ways that you can do that. And it doesn't have to be something that is super, super visible. You know, it doesn't have to be like out in the middle of your dining table for people to see. It's really about you. It's really about, is that a gift you can actually give to you? Is a fun way to interact with that energy, even when you're not using the toys, right?
Right.
Even if you have it in a bedside stand in one of your drawers, you can just open that drawer and you see that. You tap into that energy, and your body probably, you know, there's a possibility your body might appreciate that as well.
Yes. And this lovely thing from we learned in Access Consciousness is just for me, just for fun, never tell anyone, right? Now, you can if you want to, but it's not about, right? Look at right, or avoiding or hiding it. It's like, how does it make you feel? Like, you guys just saw me light up when I was talking about my treasure trove and like, a trunk, and oh my gosh, right? Like, it just turns me on. It lights me up. You know, and as I call in my person, you know, it's like, who would be delighted to see this or to play with this or to experience this, right? Like, it's building the energy, it's being the energy now, regardless of what's going on in your experience, right? Yeah. Oh, I need a cigarette. I don't even smoke. I'm like, I need a cigarette. Let me just have an energetic cigarette.
Yeah. So, and something, folks, I really want to just kind of point this out. It's like, there are reasons that throughout our histories, pleasure has been given so much attention. There are reasons that there were entire rooms and homes and castles devoted to the arts of pleasure. And that is something that has been really, I'm going to say the word lost in many respects. You know, we've shut off our connection to it. We've lost touch with it. We've kind of put it in a closet that we don't often open. And there are many merits to pleasure and what that adds to your life. So I wonder if, in this spirit of gifting to yourself, could you maybe create a space? If there's one chair, or if there's one room in your house, if you've got a room, because I know some of us, we don't have quite that available. Is there a space, regardless of the size, that you can actually set up that is, when you go into that space, you are there to allow pleasure. You are there to be in the energy of pleasure.
That
and
makes
it's
my
just
body
like,
hum.
right? The bodies receive so much from the energy of pleasure. It is so nurturing, generative, expansive. And if we're willing to allow pleasure to be a contribution rather than a weapon, completely different realms of possibilities open up to us. And so much like what we were talking about when you see the treasure trove or the toy box, you know, that energy kind of, your body goes, oh yeah, we feel that, we get that. Yeah. If you are able to have a place or a space, you know, that when you're there, and be willing to honor yourself, that is the space that, for example, if you make that a chair and you make that chair super comfortable, so whether you want to cover it in custom etched leather or fine scarves or beautiful
crushed velvet,
silk, whatever you want to put it in, depending on your personal preferences, would you be willing to really just embellish that chair so that when you sit in that chair, it is your throne. It is the place that simply cradles you in ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to have that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
Nobody has to know. Like, it could be in the middle of your living room, and every time you sit in it, nobody else has to know that chair is turning your body on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you're willing to be so bold as to go beyond one chair, one thing, or one space, like if you're at a girl, at a boy, I'm going to do my whole shebang, like do your entire abode or your office or wherever, like that you spend a great deal of time, that when you see it, you walk by it, you walk into it, you're in it, like you were just turned on. Can you imagine what your life and living and relationships and career and money might be like if you were living in a state of turn on? And I don't mean you want to, screw everything you see. That's one possibility. But turn on from the space of just orgasmic energy, right? Creative life force energy, and just turn on, right? Like everything skyrockets when you function from that space. So if you're not ready to do the whole shebang, find a chair, find a thing, find a space or
could
room.
Could be a bathtub.
Could be like, what is it for you that when you see it, you want to be like, oh yes.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a reminder, it's an invitation. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yes.
I don't know about anybody else, but I am totally down and up for having a whole lot more turn on in 2017 and having a whole lot more pleasure and having a whole lot more desire and having a whole lot more joy and happiness and contentment and appreciation and kindness and
yes.
And that's derived from being turned on and pleasured, being in pleasure, being pleasure, right? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And here's where toys can also include, non-specifically sexual types of devices. If you have a beautiful piece of crystal that, brings up that energy for you, put that in your space. If you enjoy fine cigars, put that in your space. There is, when you take off any of the limitations or the restrictions of what it is that can bring the energy, or at least be bringing the invitation to the energy of pleasure for you and your body. That's really what this is about. Making your grown-up list. Are you willing to really just open the doors to explore all of the possibilities of what that could be for you?
Oh, yes.
And are you willing to acknowledge what that is for you? Are you doing that and not acknowledging it? Like, are you having pleasure or choosing pleasure, but only letting yourself have it like for this many minutes or in this little bit of your life? And if you could remove those restraints and let the energy of that pleasure expand into more of your life, what else could you be creating? What else could you become aware of?
Ooh,
how much more enjoyment becomes possible for you and your body?
Whew. Yes, 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 yes.
And what if this makes you a really fantastic lover?
Yeah. Sign me up.
Right? There's a reason that people who are in the line of work that deal with pleasure do pretty well. They're willing to have that awareness for themselves, and they're willing to allow that to enable them to really get present with the people who come to them. So if you can get beyond all of your things that, yes, people do pay for sex and they do pay for pleasure, and would you be willing to pay for pleasure? Do you get body work done? Do you have facials? Do you go to the spa?
Massages,
Do you have your toes done? Do you
buy
have
a
your
new pair
nails
of boots,
right?
right?
So,
I pay for pleasure.
how many ways are you paying for pleasure that you're totally not acknowledging?
I love that.
Right? And could you allow that to be actually a contribution to you? And so if you're willing to know you, if you're willing to have the pleasure for you, what I notice with people and with bodies is that there is something that occurs that allows us to then offer that with more ease. So it's kind of like you remove these restraints that you try to work through. So if you are having all kinds of constriction in your own life and in your own body about pleasure, and then you are, desiring to be with another person, how much more energy is required for you to get through those sort of really those restraints of all of those weird points of view you're carrying about pleasure with regard to you? Are you really going to be able to be present and offer pleasure to another person? It takes a bit more work.
It's a whole lot more effort.
And can you really be, how present are you when you're trying to do something technically correct rather than be in the joy of that organic expression of pleasure?
Yeah. How can we have it be more ease, the most ease,
Exactly.
the least amount of effort, right?
Yes.
Like I had this amazing experience. I guess it was Sunday. Today's Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is. Sunday, I had to go get my son a bunch of stuff for a performance, and I had to go look for dress shoes for him. And I was at this shoe warehouse, and I'm walking through the aisles, and I go on these boots, and these knee-high, like knee over the knee, suede navy boots screamed my name, and I'm like, Body, I asked my body, but I didn't even have to ask, like, Body, would you like these? She was like on them. I'm like, oh, and there was a pair of wine colored ones, but I'm like, no, it's the navy, right? And I'm like, oh, so I put them on and I pulled them up, and they're kind of scrunchy. They're real thin material on the top, and they scrunch. And I had on leggings, and I stood up and I strutted my ass up that aisle, and I shredded my ass, and I'm looking, and I'm like turning and looking down. I'm like, oh yes, ma'am. And this woman comes around the corner. She's about 5'2". She's like, you're gonna get those, right? I'm like, oh yeah. Try to see me get out of the store without them. She's like, oh man, they'd come up to my neck, but those are amazing, right? She could feel the energy that I'm like,
yeah, totally.
And like, I cannot get to places fast enough to wear these boots. Like, they turn my body on so much.
Yes.
And right, like, it's a freaking pair of boots, but it's like, they turn me on, and like the desire that I have to wear them now and be in them in the world. Like, I'm strutting my ass around in my house in them. I mean, I'm just like, so
that's it right there. It's like, really, are you willing to? Does anybody remember? So when I was a kid, I'm going to tell on myself. I used to do the goofiest things. Okay. Now I'm sure I'm the only one, of course.
Of course.
So,
yes.
Like, my mother had this pair of red toe shoes, and I, at the age of, I don't know, I think I was 8 or 9, I would put these toe shoes on.
Toe shoes is in ballet?
Toe shoes, yeah. Like,
okay.
Point,
ballet on point shoes.
I
cool.
would put
red.
these point shoes on, red silk ribbons, lace them up around my ankle.
Oh, yeah.
I would dance around the living room in those red toe shoes.
Oh,
and it brought me so much joy to do that. It felt so good to do that. And then there were, like, I had my favorite pair of corduroy hip huggers that were bell bottom.
Yep, I remember those. Yep.
But those were so, I think my mother probably had to like trick me to get me out of them long enough for her to watch
watch them, right?
Okay? Yep. But I wore those things everywhere. They were green corduroy hip hugger bell bottoms, and I wore them with this pair of plastic clogs.
Oh, the good old days, baby.
Forever. And it was just, I loved how I felt in them. I loved the feel of the fabric. I loved the behavior of the fabric. You know, when you would walk, the bell-bottom flares would grace each other.
Yep.
The sound of the shoes and the feel when I would take a step, and just, I felt so good in that pair of pants and that pair of shoes, and I had a little tank top that I was usually in when I was wearing it, and it was it was, that is an energy of receiving from your clothes, from your environment, from the activities, and somewhere along the way we get into the grown up or the adultness or the definition of what we think that should be, and we stop allowing ourselves to be fed and nourished and contributed to.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how subtle this stuff creeps in. I was looking around my space the other day. I was like, there's a whole lot of muted, like it's warm and it's inviting for me, but it's very muted. And so I found myself when I was shopping, as I was looking at things, I would hold something up and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, does it turn me on? No. Fucking put it back on the rack, right? Like it's so automatic how it creeps in and subtly takes over. So I know we're getting closer to the end of the show. So it's like, how can we challenge and invite our playmates to being more aware and to choosing things that, asking for their grown-up Christmas list and beyond that would actually contribute so much more. So like, what are some questions and things we can play with? Because I noticed it for myself so blatantly, like, oh my God, I've become like everybody else again. What the fuck? And I had to call myself on it. And I had to go, does it turn me on to light me up? No, thank you, right? And so what does? And I've had to really be very, very aggressively present and conscious with my choices, because it doesn't feel good to not be turned on. It just doesn't.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And the not feeling good for so many people that I have seen, worked with, played with, had conversations with, the not feeling good becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And the feeling good becomes the exception. And is it time to turn that around?
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
What if the not feeling good would be the exception?
Yes.
The thing that we experienced intermittently. And the feeling good was actually the thing that was the norm. So what would it be like for feeling good, for feeling excited, for feeling turned on to be the greater amount of time and energy and vibration that you lived by?
Everything to allow for that. Take a deep breath in.
Woo!
Blow it out.
Yes,
let it go.
Woo! I will have lots more of that. Yeah, it's really fascinating that we get to choose that. It's really kind of what it comes down to. And even just because I can say we get to choose that does not mean I have mastered it. Please no.
Me
We're right in here with you.
We're doing it too. Yep.
Yeah. So one, would you be willing to write 3 things down that you become aware of this week that actually bring you pleasure? And if you want, you can write 3 things that you already know of, and then look for 3 new things and look for the awareness of, okay, what actually brings me pleasure? Like, I think for a lot of us, I could say hot bath, good food, cotton sheets, really nice high thread cotton sheets, no polyester anywhere in my universe. That brings me pleasure. And what are 3 things that maybe I have not acknowledged that this week I could be willing to acknowledge?
Yeah.
And would I be willing to put that on my list of what I am asking for? And am I willing to ask for that? And that's a whole nother part of this conversation, equally valuable, that we can make that list. And the next step is, are you willing to ask?
Yeah.
And that's a muscle. I am learning to find muscles of ask didn't even know I had.
Yes. And we have this really interesting habit, most of us, and I had a coaching session with someone yesterday, and we were looking at something pretty big in their universe. And they said, okay, but if I ask for this, there's the yeah, but underneath it of like, it can't really come true, right? Or it can't really be changed. And it's like, right? So just notice that whatever you're asking for, if you're willing to finally get to asking, notice what comes up, right? And simply say, no, this isn't about, explaining it, justifying it, reasoning. No, that is not part of this.
Yeah.
So catch yourself and just say no and
Yeah.
keep going, right?
Yeah.
And you will get to be more in the habit and practice of catching yourself trying to justify my existence, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
right, hello, no, it's an ask and receive universe. I knew that coming in. These are my desires.
Yeah.
Universe, you know it, and I know it shall be done. It's not up to me to determine how or when or what it looks like, right? These are my desires. The universe already knows it. I got to get out of the way. And that's when that yeah, but creeps in. Catch yourself and say, no,
Yeah.
whatever it takes. No.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't have to have any reason to ask.
Nope.
No reason or justification required. And that's part of the beauty of asking.
Yes, I'm writing some notes. Keep
that
going.
is just,
yes.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh. We are fast approaching our
Holy
closing
smokers.
moments here. And I am beyond grateful for the willingness of all of you to put your ask into our universes. Even if you're doing it, without necessarily saying it out loud, I'm acknowledging that it's amazing. It's amazing to get to play with you each week. It's amazing to get to experience you, each of you, and the collective of all of the people who participate with these conversations. And I just want to thank you. Rhonda and I, how did we get so lucky? How did I get so lucky?
How did we?
Yeah.
And we choose. And we
And we
chose. And we choose every single, So
we did ask.
Yes, we did.
We did ask. And we
did
keep
ask.
asking. Yep.
So receive it, my friends. There is so much love. There's so much gratitude. There's so much adoration and appreciation here for you. And there's so much more that we haven't even tapped into yet. So yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that, Keisha's. And yes. So I wonder what your holiday season and beyond into the next year and beyond that might be like. I wonder what it might be like if you were truly willing to know the desires of your heart, of your body, of your soul, like whatever you would like to, call upon. I wonder what it would be like if you actually acknowledged those desires and spoke them to the universe, whispered them, stroked the pen across the page, whatever it is for you. But identify and get them into the universal mix and be willing to be open to receiving them, right? I wonder what your life might be like, your body, your relationships, your love. Eleanor wrote something in the chat room a little bit ago. It's like one of the things she came here for. And it's like, cool, are you willing to have it, right? Speak it, acknowledge it, ask for it, and be willing to receive it when it shows up. Yeah.
And keep asking.
Don't ever stop asking.
Yeah. Ooh. So I truly hope you are willing to put something on your grown-up Christmas list that you may never have been willing to put on there before.
Mm-hmm.
And I am excited for you to get to experience the receiving of that and what that creates in your life. And I know Rhonda and I are working on some things with our own representations of that, our own versions of that. And I'm sure, I do have a sense that that will be brought into future conversations because there's some really potent, amazing stuff going on. So yeah, it's just, what do you really want to let it be about? What do each of us really want to let this be about? This whole thing called life, however you chose to get here, could you just acknowledge that you got here and you're still here? And maybe that is an immense, amazing, tremendous, magical gift to a whole lot of the rest of us that maybe you could begin to acknowledge now. Yeah.
Mm.
And what else could we be playing with?
Right.
Oh, wow. All right.
Ooh, super juicy. What are you talking about? So, sorry. Thank you. And what are you talking about on your show on Friday? Do you know what your
You
topic is?
know, there's something bubbling and I don't have it yet.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm doing
So you
this
got
sort
to
of,
go to AtoZen.fm and check it out, friends.
you'll have to come find out. Yeah. And definitely don't tap into all of the pleasure conversations of December with Miss Rhonda Burns on Poke.
Definitely
It's
do
not game.
not, if you don't want to be turned on, because
No,
oh my goodness, I'm so excited. So,
look out.
yes, so we will. There was something I was going to share, but it's gone. Okay, cool. So I'm just grateful, and I'm just so appreciative of each and every one of you. How can Keisha and I support you and assist you in truly having what you desire? So, we are available for sessions. Send us email if you have questions, if there's clarity required, if you're stuck or you require anything, gotta let us know, gotta ask. So we are here to contribute to you dynamically, enjoyably, and it does not have to take a long time. So
Absolutely.
just saying. There's a few things that I would like to take a long time, but change and transformation doesn't necessarily have to be one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. You can actually process really fast.
Yes.
And then let your pleasure last longer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you, my beautiful friend.
Thank you. You are so
Just
welcome.
beyond words. Yeah.
Yes, this is a super fast and fun conversation. So I have lots of notes. So I will be sending when we get the video ready and the email ready. We'll include a lot of this, stuff to ponder and things to look at and questions. So definitely be working on that list, friends. Right?
What's in your toy treasure trove? All right, so join us again next week for more unconventional conversations to unfuck your life, where we are celebrating all things sex and the sex of everything here on Sexually Speaking with me, Keisha Clark, the amazing Rhonda Burns, and hopefully a whole lot more of y'all coming to play, keeping it up, keep those conversations going, and yeah, just how much fun can you have being the amazing gift that you be?
Yes.
We adore you. And see you next week.
Peace out. See ya.